And we are live. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Book Club Bros podcast. And right now we are finished part 3 of the Elon Musk by Isaac Walterson or Walter Isaacson, not Walter. What did I say? Isaac
Isaac
Walterson.
Walterson.
Walter Isaacson, and yeah, another fantastic section here, guys. Chock full of just good stuff. I mean, Elon again and again doing everything he can, and almost even starting World War III. But we'll get into that. Diving right in, chapter. Oh well, forgot to introduce the co-host today. My name is Chase. I'm with my co-host today, Landon and Miguel, and we are diving in from chapter 50 to chapter.
Next book, you'll just hit it clean. Chapter 50 to
75.
So yeah, reading
50 to
about
75.
about 25 chapters of
25 chapters a week.
golly.
Yeah. And yep, we're going to dive right in on this chapter 50, Shanghai, learning about Elon on his journey to opening up a factory in China. I didn't get too much there. We're going to be
There's
flying
just
through these.
It was a little tough. Like he had to, they were trying to make him do it underneath their government, and instead he convinced them to just like kind of let it independent of like a partnership with them. So
Yeah, one of the first companies to agree with that or something.
I think it was the first.
Yeah, crazy. 51, Cybertruck, which they just actually recently recalled them.
Crazy. I sent that to Chase. I was like,
Yeah.
yo, they recalled
For
all of
a
them.
little bit of an issue, but hey, now we're kind of figuring out. This is back in 2018. They just delivered 2024, so this was 6 years ago. 5 to 6 years ago, Cybertruck, and this was just a really cool. I didn't really have any highlights or anything, but it was just cool to see like the thought process that went behind it on how they're like they bought a Chevy, and then they're like,
They kept it next to it just for like an idea
Yeah.
of like what they want to do, and the Chevy Silverado.
yeah, and they're
Chevy
like, all
Silverado.
trucks look the same. Let's do something completely different.
And he ended up deciding to go with all stainless steel, which would become a theme
Yes.
in his everything.
Stainless steel and Elon Musk, just perfect match made in heaven.
Yep.
But if you thought that was crazy, then we jump into Starlink on 52, chapter 52. This is his next new company, which is doing his own internet with his own satellites.
I thought it was crazy. He started having Mars colonization meetings.
Yeah.
He had individual. It talks a little bit in this chapter where he had otherworldly meeting called Mars Colonizer. Where
Yeah.
They would just get together and talk about what life would be on Mars. What it would be like on Mars. I'm like, and not to say, to me, it's like, wow, that's a waste of time. Like, wouldn't you want to get to that point once you get to be able to get to Mars and then discuss all this stuff? But they're talking about like what it would just be like on Mars. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's crazy.
Chapter 53, speaking of Mars, how do we get there? With the big old Starship, his new Elon rocket right here. And the thing is ginormous. This is 2018, 2019. They called it the big F rocket, but then they switched it to Starship.
Rebranded it.
Rebrand. I definitely understand why. But yeah, just this giant stainless steel, like Landon mentioned, rocket, and just figuring out how to build this thing that's ginormous.
And some of his engineers for this thing ended up being like people that were involved in F1. I thought that was interesting because
Mhm.
F1 was kind of forming around that time, and he was stealing some of the people away that were involved in F1 to come work for him.
I mean, he has the brightest minds in the world working on these crazy solutions.
Always pushing the envelope for what can be done. It was like pushing the legal limits of how thin they could make it just to like try and keep it reduced. Because I mean,
Yep.
it makes sense. It has to be as. I mean, he's always looking for he's always seems like he's looking for the cheapest option because he knows it's not going to go right the first time. He's like, we don't want to be blowing stuff up that costs a ton of money. Like, let's see what we can do to make it work.
Yeah, and then, but then he even got a little house right next to the facility so he could be close to it, which is another theme. He's either sleeping at the factory or he has a house that's 1 mile away. And I thought it was just funny that his industrial size refrigerator was stocked with caffeine free Diet Cokes. And man, it just crushes him.
Yeah, because he's also a huge Red Bull drinker, so he's
Yeah.
probably like when he's not drinking energy drinks, you probably like to be able to have your heart not explode, like not constantly be drinking stuff, even if it only has like 100 milligrams of caffeine or something. Like you don't want to be getting more caffeine from like Diet Coke and other stuff you're drinking.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, you know, what his like, because he talks about like the stress and like how it like makes him throw up and all that, and like how just the stuff he's doing to his body. I wonder, like, because you would think in order to like just that someone like this would want to be so pristine in their diet, just to be like, I need to live as long as possible, feel as good as
Mhm.
possible at all. I'm not drinking energy drinks. I'm only having plant-based, healthiest caffeine that you can have. Just like, but he doesn't seem to be that way.
Good foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Oh, is that coming up
It,
later?
it does come up later.
What the heck? That's funny.
It does. Jumping over to chapter 54, the first Autonomy Day. This is
April 2019.
yep, this was just about just kind of unveiling a little bit closer to the actual Tesla's first Autonomy Day. So this is where he quotes, "We have to show people this is real," he said, even though it isn't there yet. So this was just a giant event on hands. And
Another common theme is leading up to this, he just like tried to clean house with everyone on his autopilot team.
Yes.
yeah,
Like anytime anything's not up to par, it's his kind of his go-to move.
yeah. But
But I thought it was cool what their big thing they were supposed to reveal that day was having the car be able to drive, go out onto the highway, make some turns or whatever, and then come back to them. And they were able to do it. They actually got it done.
yep, 7 turns.
It was supposed to do more, and then he like dialed back
yeah.
the complexity of it, but still pretty impressive.
Yeah, and that was the first time he spoke about robo taxis. Is his end all be all type of car.
Oh yeah.
But moving on, chapter 55, Giga Texas. And this is where he was trying to figure out where to build the facility for his next car.
How fun, man. That's gotta be the fun part of the job. It's like, hey, we've got something here, got something there. What's your guys' favorite cities? Where do we want to build this thing at?
Yeah.
It's like, what the heck?
Yeah, there wasn't too many options. It looks like he was going back and forth between Omaha, right?
It was.
Or
It's Austin and Tulsa.
oh yeah,
Yeah, Tulsa.
yeah,
Yeah.
Oklahoma. Yeah,
Would you rather live in Tulsa or Austin? It's just,
Yeah,
well,
and then he's
let's
like,
do it in
oh,
Austin.
Yeah.
Oh, those are the options.
Yeah. He picks that option.
Shout out Tulsa, Oklahoma, though.
almost. Can you
Anyways.
imagine?
Be just absolutely giant, 10 million square feet of factory floor.
Yeah.
What
And
the
then-
heck?
What did he say? He said, yeah,
Twice
with
as-
10 million square feet of the factory floor, Giga Texas was dubbed, would have as twice as much floor space
The
as
Pentagon.
Fremont and 50% more than the Pentagon.
Crazy.
And then it said, it could be the biggest factory in the world by floor area once some planned mezzanines were added. But there is a shopping mall that had more square feet. And then Elon Musk added, he said,
He was
like,
trying to make
how
it
much
the biggest
bigger?
thing ever.
Yeah,
he
trying to
didn't end up doing it,
Yeah.
but he wanted to. He was playing around with the idea, but he didn't end up
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Crazy.
cool too. At the back end of that chapter, it talks about the idea for the Model Y came from a toy car.
Mm-hmm.
He was playing with the toy car or the Model S. And he said, "Why can't we do this?" And then he just comes upon this idea that would make it a little bit simpler, and that's what they used for the Model Y.
Yep.
Which was
And
they got the world's largest casting machine to make it
Yeah.
happen. They reached out to 6 or 7 companies,
yeah,
and only
some
one said they
laughed
could
at
do
him.
it.
Yeah. And then what was the and then they did the same thing for the Cybertruck as well.
Mhm.
Ginormous. Can you imagine? Just melting lava comes in one end and then it presses and next thing you know there's a car.
Yeah.
That's what the Cybertruck looks like. I feel like it would have been more complicated on the Model Y because it's got more curves. The idea behind the Cybertruck where it's just straight edges,
Yeah.
not curved at all. Dude, it's so unique. It's and they talk a little bit about it just to back it up where they're just like it talks about like most of the people hated it
Oh yeah.
that works
His
for him.
design
But
team.
So it's going to almost be like art. Like they talked about it like art. So it's like it's a little bit of a risk, but he's like, I don't care. Like he was like willing to just like do stuff even if it would like had a high chance of failure. It talked about that kind of throughout the book.
Yeah.
But
diving
that.
in to his family life, which more and more kids left and right, starting off with XAEA-12, or just short for X.
Exaflops.
Yeah, what was it? What was
Exa as in exaflops. I don't know what
Yeah,
that is. It's
but
a supercomputer.
but yeah, so
XAEA-12.
yeah, definitely
He's so smart, man. Like
It's
you
just
see the
crazy.
crazy names that come from parents that are like probably like methed out, but this guy is just like,
yeah,
this is a crazy name from someone who's just,
but he loved X. X was he really did like X.
yeah, he took him everywhere.
Yeah. And then I'm trying to see if there's anything
I thought it was
else.
funny how he shared that picture. Funny how he shared the picture of Grimes having the C-section and passed
Oh,
it around.
yeah.
He got all mad about that.
Yeah.
He's like, "What? Why would you be mad about that?"
But even though he really did like X, he did not have a good relationship with his oldest. Wasn't the oldest one of the first three sons?
Xavier.
Xavier,
Who became Jenna.
who transitioned and became Jenna, and then Jenna was super anti-billionaire, basically. He says, Musk says, became intense when she went beyond socialism to being full communist and thinking that anyone rich is evil, which then, so they had a little bit of a falling out, but then that kind of made Musk kind of like literally sell all of his homes and all of his belongings. And
It's crazy because
yeah,
it's not like he was doing it to almost like it was past the point of amends. Like she just wasn't even talking to him.
yeah,
So like it's one of those things where you're doing this to appease your, I guess maybe daughter is what they're calling her now. But she doesn't like want anything to do with you, like
yeah,
because you stand for like she just somewhere along the lines. Like, can you imagine that?
yeah,
Like somewhere I can't even think of a real world example where it's just like what you are, your child just decides to just hate that more than anything, and like but you can't change, like how are you supposed to change it?
yeah, heartbreaking.
Like you can't
I
just,
can't imagine.
what are you supposed to like work for free and have no, like what can you literally do
Yeah,
if
but
that's the way it is? Because he tried to do it, but I mean it's kind of and then at the end of it they have a little Kimball and Elon get reunited, try to have an ayahuasca ceremony.
yeah,
That was funny.
that was
Elon
funny.
declined on it though,
No,
but they still
yeah.
got to spend a fun weekend together.
Yep.
Moving on.
57, full throttle, back to
Full
SpaceX. They do a launch. Oh, this is big because this is the first time civilians since, what was it? When was the first time NASA did it? It was like way long time since they did it, and it was luckily successful. And hugeness of the moment kind of hit him, and as they dance, Kimball jumping up at one point shouting, "My brother has sent astronauts into space," which was really cool.
It's crazy.
And yeah, that's all I got from that, really. Anything else?
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, he fired one of his main guys. I think. Yeah. Koenigsman.
And he hired
Oh,
that.
Hans.
And he hired that ambitious employee who had the meeting set up with him. He canceled and just waited outside his office for hours and ended up getting elevated to chief engineer.
Oh yeah, what a way to fire! You did an awesome job over many years, but eventually everyone's times comes to retire. Musk told him in the email, "Yours is now."
Yeah.
Like, yeesh.
Dude, there's no
Ruthless,
slacking off with
man.
this guy. There's no slacking off. He's so he's so aware of what he's trying to accomplish. It's like that's why it's so impressive, because you would imagine he probably told all of them that. Like some people are a little more chill whenever you start working for him, but in the moment, like whenever he hires any of those people, because he seems to directly hire a lot of them, they know like, hey, you have to be, you know, on tilt 100% all the time, just working hard whenever you're here. And then, but as time goes on, it's human nature to just fade a little bit. So like he catches any of them slipping, he's just like, okay, we need new blood.
Yeah.
We need new blood in here.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Chapter 58. Speaking of bad blood, Bezos and Musk round 2.
Yeah.
This is right before their trips, because it was between Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson who's going to be the first billionaire in space, which this kind of race came out to. And it was actually interesting. I didn't know Musk actually met Richard Branson before his flight
Yeah,
compared to Jeff.
sending a billionaire into
Um,
space.
But yeah, both of them got up. There was jokes on Twitter. Elon put like about Blue Origin, and so Musk joined in and said, "Can't get it up to orbit." LOL. Just funny
Dude,
things.
it's funny. You see, I was talking to Chase, and now I see Elon all over Twitter, just like really using it. And we get into a little bit of the Twitter stuff later on in this, but like, he really is just. I mean, he uses it like they say later on, like his playground,
Yeah.
like just to have some fun, to get some emotions out, to do some bullying, to do some collaborating, to do some just like having jokes and just having fun. Like it's pretty cool, honestly.
Yeah. But even with these beefs between the two, I mean, Bezos is kind of taking the way Musk is, while Branson's kind of taking it as like a tourism type of vibe. But he kind of even suggested to Bezos, he says, in some ways, I'm trying to goad him into spending more time at Blue Origin so they can make more progress. He said he should
Like little
spend,
brother in him.
yeah, he should spend more time at Blue Origin and less time in the hot tub. Even though he's already a billionaire, it's crazy. But yeah, just
Bezos bought the Washington Post. I just highlighted that. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, interesting.
yep,
Because he was getting, yeah,
Was a
'cause
story or
yeah,
something?
Musk didn't like that he would have that control. He was like turning down interviews and stuff like that because he realized that Bezos was in control of it.
yeah, yep.
Okay.
But moving on, Starship Surge.
Surge 2021 July.
2021. Man, it's crazy. Look at this.
This
We're-
was a cool. This
we
was
still have
interesting.
this many more pages in only 3 years.
Dude, but I
crazy.
put whenever my card that I used for my bookmark was at the end of this chapter, yeah, you just like hold it to the side and I'm like, hey, I've read that much of the book. I was like, man, that is like, wow, we have really come a long way.
Yeah,
The first two portions, you really feel like you're just all uphill. And now it's like, okay, once we finish this portion, it's all just finishing the race.
yeah. I mean, that first section we did was daunting, but now we're here. It's hump day.
So this is cool. So it's talking about, how do you pronounce this? Mechazilla,
Mechazilla,
where they're talking about using
like chopsticks.
a chopsticks basically to just be able to catch the
Dude,
crane.
what?
To be able to catch the crane. The same thing they used to get it into position, they're going to use it to catch it when it comes back down.
What the heck?
What an idea. Everyone thought it was a bad idea.
Yeah,
And then he
they're like,
finds
what if
one
we
person-
run into
they
it?
find
They're like,
one
let's just
person-
not do that.
They're like, one person's on board. He's like, okay, you seem to be on board. You're in charge of it.
Yeah,
You're in
crazy.
charge of helping get it set up.
But the pattern repeats.
So
the
he did a
surge,
surge, yep.
surge. Hustle. Everyone.
Just over 10 days, the
Yep.
booster was able to get it stacked onto the launch pad. And it wasn't even, and he did the surge. This was funny. Did the surge, but they weren't even close to like being ready to do it.
Oh yeah.
So he's like telling them like, hey, we need to have this done in 10 days. And then I think it says they flew like months and
Yeah, it
months
was like-
later. Like it wasn't even
like almost a
close.
year later. or
Yeah,
something.
maybe. Yeah, it might have been a year later.
Yeah. Yep. Just another storm. Then goes into the Raptor cost. Oh, this poor guy.
The idiot index.
This was crazy.
Bro.
I felt bad for this guy.
Dude, you feel bad for like every single person that gets fired by Musk because they'd be probably the top at any other industry, but like they're just the bottom here.
Yeah.
End up being the bottom here. It's
So
crazy.
Musk meets with this analyst about the Raptor costs, and yeah, has the idiot index is what he lives by.
If the ratio is
but-
high, you're an idiot.
But Hughes kind of fumbled on this one. He said, "I'm not sure, Hughes. I will find out. This was not good. Must face Harden and Shotwell, and shot me a word glance. You better effing sure in the future you know these things off the top of your head." And but Elon did show a different side because after that meeting,
He comes back more prepared. Apparently, and you find
yeah,
out that
Hughes
he had
does.
some stuff going on in the background.
yeah,
He doesn't necessarily like. I think he had just lost a kid, but he doesn't necessarily blame it on that. He was more so just like caught off guard, I think.
yeah. But Musk did ask Shotwell. He says, after these meetings, I pulled Shotwell aside and asked her to assess how Musk had treated Hughes. basically it seemed like Musk did kind of ask a little bit, or maybe I got that wrong. Maybe Musk did not ask her.
No, she asked him like if you thought that you treated him fine.
Oh, there you
and
go.
he was basically just like, because I think I see where you're getting down to the
Yeah.
point where he looks at it differently, because she had never brought up to him, because the reporter's asking Shotwell like, hey, did you ever bring up to Musk that like they had this thing in common with losing a child? And she's
Mhm.
like, no, I still need to, because then Musk was asked like, how do you think you handled it? And he's like, I give people hardcore feedback, mostly accurate, and I try to do it in a way that's ad hominem. I try to criticize the action, not the person. We all make mistakes. What matters is whether a person has a good feedback loop, can seek criticism from others, and can improve. Physics does not care about hurt feelings. It cares about whether you get the rocket right.
Yeah.
Like he's really, but he's not as 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 bipolar, I guess you could call it, as he tends to be. He's really never in this form, in the sense of like he always is. I'm just trying to get it best with who. Like if you can't handle the way that I talk to you about it,
Right.
and someone else is probably better to do your job.
Right.
So
Yeah.
he's always like, I try to criticize the action, not the person, even though he probably think he called that other guy an idiot. I don't know.
But yeah, that was kind of what I got from mainly this.
So on to 60.
60 Solar Surge, going back to Solar City, aka Tesla Solar, and they're inspecting a solar roof installation. And
This is where he buys it for $2.6 billion from his cousins.
yeah, and he says, I effing hate
Yeah.
my cousins. And I was like, wow. I was like, holy
These same
cow.
cousins
Man.
he grew up with. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever speak to them again.
Yeah.
Crazy. But basically, yeah, they just went through and they
turn
installed
it over to people, and he says, whoever he hired, he says, you have 2 weeks to fix this. I fired my cousins, and I'll fire you too if you don't get the installations going 10 times faster.
Yeah.
So mini surge.
Yep, and then they tried to install it on his house or whatever. It was his house. About like they were going back and forth.
He made the
between
engineers
design.
install them.
Yeah.
That was a unique part. He made the engineers. He's like, you guys have never done this. You don't even know what it is.
Yeah,
So
what
you
do
get up there on top of this roof in this hot weather, and you figure out how to get it done.
Yeah. Yep. Literally. The guy Tony says I got 20 years of experience in the roofing business, and then Elon responds, "But how many solar roofs have you installed?" Crazy.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
No.
It was funny too. Whenever he was firing that one guy at the end, he was like, took him a while to figure out he was getting fired. Like Musk was just kind of going back and forth with him. He said, took that a while to realize that Musk was firing him. It was the most bizarre, weird firing you could imagine. And he had a lot of history with him too. So really, he wasn't. Dude, you come to find out, I think it even says it earlier on that like, there's only like maybe 2 people that he's regretted having to fire. Some people he's harsh with it when he fires. Some people he lets them go a little easier because they've been there longer, like this guy. But like, doesn't say anything where he's like, oh man, and I miss this guy. Like I wish like I
Yeah.
didn't fire him. He's always just like, oh, the next is better.
Yeah. Especially Dow too, man. He
Yeah.
missed his birthday.
Yeah.
Flew down
Yep.
to help Elon, and then he still left. Dang. Crazy. Nights Out. This is a little SNL vibe. I remember that.
Yeah.
Did you watch that episode or anything?
I need to go back and watch this. I went back and watched the podcast. I don't watch too much SNL, but it's funny. It's been going on forever. This is in 2021. I didn't realize how recent it was.
Yeah.
I was thinking for some reason in my head that this was like in the early 2000s or something like that.
But this is where that famous quote comes from him. To anyone I've offended, I wanted to say I reinvented electric cars. I'm sending people to Mars on a rocket ship. Do you think I was going to be a chill, normal dude?
That was my OG quote to start the book.
Yeah.
That was the quote to start the
Yep.
book.
But yeah, I'm trying to.
His mom ends up improvising for this.
Yeah.
She didn't think the lines were funny.
Yeah. Loves Burning Man, which is always so funny. Burning Man and during which I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
this
it
is
was
it.
shut down, and that's where
Shut-
Kimball they decided to put in some money to
Renegade Burn.
get it going. But they chipped in money to get it open, and
Oh
then
yeah.
they didn't end up opening
No,
that
but
year. So then they did their own thing.
yep.
Or,
20,000 though. Still
unauthorized.
came. Crazy. I mean, not the usual 80,000, but still, it's a good amount.
Also, this is when Grimes said they're talking to each other. He says, "I love you, but I don't. I love you, but I don't love you," is what they're saying to each other basically. And then they end
Yeah.
up breaking up, and she writes a song about him.
Moving on to the Met Gala. Nothing that too much there. Yeah.
He didn't do it. Yeah, he had some notable names there like Leonardo DiCaprio, Chris Rock,
Yeah.
some of the celebrities that came, but he just wanted to stay in the back and watch the magician. You
Yeah.
see that whenever he's in all these like big environments, he's always like doing something random. Like if a ton of people are together, he's in his room playing a video game.
Yeah.
Or he's off in the corner, or
Yep.
he's trying to do something else. So it's like a weird like dissociation.
Yeah.
Almost. that
It's
he has
like
with these
goes back
events.
to his college days where he likes being at the party but not actually like partying.
But it's his party. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's just like you almost need to throw it anonymously, because otherwise it's like, oh, we're all, like it's almost like for a normal, the same way where they talk about where he's not normal and stuff like that. Joe Rogan talks about it a ton on the podcast. Where he's like, you're not normal. Where it's just like the normal thing is you go to someone's party, the first or second person you're talking to is whoever's party it is.
Right.
Like, and that's everybody. Like, you're gonna say, "Hey, what up? What up? Like, really cool party. Thanks for having me," or something like that.
Yeah.
You're not just gonna show up and leave, but that's what he would probably prefer you to do.
Yeah. But having reached the pinnacle of celebrity in summer of 2021, Musk found it exciting but awkward.
States are perfect.
Chapter 62, Inspiration 4. This is where they actually flew up the guys, right? Or no, this is the second time.
think so. I think it was the second time.
This was the first time people paid to do it. I think.
That's the one?
Yeah, he had paid like what, 50 million or something like that. He became. Yeah, he founded the company, 150 jets, and the reason that they were going higher than they were supposed to go, but that's because the guy who paid to do it
Yes.
wanted to do that.
Yeah.
So they wanted to go up a little bit higher. He said, why aren't we just doing it where it's safer and lower altitudes? It says the customer wanted to go higher than the International Space Station.
Yeah.
He really wanted to go the highest he could. We briefed him on the orbital debris stuff, and the crew understood the risk, and he accepted it. He said, okay, great. I think that's fair as long as he's fully informed, even though it's not that safe.
Yeah.
It's not as safe.
Yeah. So that was interesting just to see the back and forth on that.
I mean, he
Yeah.
had a similar mindset. He said, if we're going to go to Mars, we have to get a little outside of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
So
Yep. And then Elon Musk gets a tweet from Bezos congratulating him on that launch.
And Isaac Moon was so thrilled with how that launch goes because it goes successful. He offered $500 million for 3 more future flights to go even higher.
What?
He also
Crazy.
asked for the right to be the first private customer on Starship when it was ready.
Crazy.
So yeah, this guy, he was the first one. It's kind of like that early investor,
Yeah.
Get your foot in the door early if you take a chance on it early.
500 million.
I mean, it was in this. I didn't highlight it, but I'm pretty sure this was like the first time they had done a civilian flight since the one that blew up on TV. Remember where they sent the teacher, where they was just supposed to send
The
the teachers?
Challenger.
Yeah. Where they, I think that was the first one where they just had random civilians that were on there that were successful. Because the billionaires was just like getting billionaires into space. But I think that they made.
Well,
that
no, they
point.
sent. Well, yeah. It's right.
Like just civilians, like just taking
right.
civilians. Like he was an autopilot, but they also took some other civilian people.
But it sounded like Musk did not like the idea of just doing it as a tourism, though. Because he said other potential customers tried to reserve flights. One of them, a prompter, mixed martial artist, want to do zero gravity. Musk was laughing, considering the possibility, even over drinks. We don't want to do that.
He's a visionary.
yeah.
He's just focused on getting to Mars
Because
first.
we'll
He's
lose
like, he
that
said,
reputation.
and he also said, like, once it becomes normal to be able to travel to and from places and other planets, then we can do it for leisure. Right now is more of like
too much on the line.
yeah.
Raptor Shakeup 2021 engineering mode. I saw a cool quote in here. He says, I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was Musk or someone else, but he says, if you can make things fast, then you can find out fast, and then you can fix it fast.
That was Musk, and he's talking about this is where he makes the decision to swap out as much of the material as he can with stainless steel, his favorite material, because they weren't sure if it'd be able to withstand the pressures and the temperatures and stuff, but it seems to be a really useful item for him.
Yeah, and we just while the Raptor engine wasn't done, they started focusing on the next new engine, the 1337 engine, and then they got good progress there, and then he switched them all back to the Raptor. And he
Oh
said,
yeah, they were trying to. Yeah.
yeah, they're
That's
like,
funny.
yeah, they're like, we can't make multiple. What is it? Yeah, we can't make life multi planetary with Raptor. It is way too expensive. But Raptor needs to tide us over until 1337 is ready. So like, yeah, there was a surge
Called
and
it
then he
elite
retreated.
because that's
Yeah,
what the numbers look like.
yeah.
That's funny, elite.
And then 64, Optimus is born. Tesla, August 2021, which I kind of remember, remember this talk.
You remember this event like from real world?
Yeah,
Do you really?
yeah. But then I did not remember that there was an actress actually dressed up as
Yeah.
the robot, which
That's
is funny. But
Robot costume and that was their first like AI day, right?
yes, yep. But speaking of, his days are wild. They gave a little insight of exactly what was going on that day. So
Yeah.
2 days before AI Day, Musk had a prep meeting with Tesla team virtually at Boca Rica. So this is 2 days before the AI Day. So he had a prep meeting with Tesla team virtually from Boca Rica. That day, he also had a meeting with Texas Fish and Wildlife Conservation Office to get support for Starship launches, a Tesla finance meeting, a discussion of solar roof financing, a meeting about future launches of civilians, a contentious walk through the tents where Starship was being assembled, an interview for a Netflix documentary, and a second late night visit to track houses where Brian Doe's team was installing solar roofs.
And you know what this guy says? I'm about to go ahead and invest in Twitter now. And this is his schedule already. That is so crazy. We're
Yeah.
getting to that point. It's the only reason I bring it up. But that's crazy.
But
Like, this is already what he's got going on his plate.
Yeah. But before that, Landon's scary chapter,
Ha, dude.
65,
Crazy.
Neuralink,
I don't like this.
which is wild.
Yeah.
Human computer interfaces is all this one's about. And
The early
already-
tech on this is, I thought it was cool. It had a little shout out to Siri. Don't do it. A little, yeah. They talk a little bit about the Apple's Mac computer and just various stuff. And like kind of at the very end of Steve Jobs' life is when they kind of launched the whole having. Do you remember like the first time that was on your phone as an option? Like I thought that
That
was the
was weird.
craziest
it
thing.
was super
Hey
weird.
Siri. Hey Siri.
Yeah.
Like what in
Yeah.
the world?
Yeah.
Crazy. They had to.
I never looked at it as a robot. Like for whatever reason I thought it was just like this thing you could do.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like I never really considered like how it was getting done. Never
Mm.
considered how it was getting done.
You were saying, Miguel?
No, it was like when they first designed it, they had 4 different sections and then they had a router, and then he's like, why would you guys do that? And they had to start from scratch again and made it a single one and used the dynamic shapes and all that stuff.
Yeah, it was like too big and too much stuff going on to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, no, it was super small,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Why does it have to be so small?" It was like the skull's big.
Yeah.
Everyone's
You can
like,
fit it on there somehow.
"Yeah,
But I like his. I mean, he's like, you know, on the good. I was talking to. He's on the good side of what this is being used for. Though, like he talks about if we can find good commercial uses to fund Neuralink, a few decades from now, we can get to our ultimate goal of protecting us against evil AI by tightly coupling the human world to our digital machinery. So he wants to create that relationship because he knows that it's being created for evil
Mm-hmm.
at the moment already. Like, I mean, it's a bit of the biggest nervousness around it is like if you are able to create that AI technology and then it's used in warfare. Like
Mhm.
that is where it's like, what are you supposed to do? That's where it's literally like fighting against the Transformers.
Mm-hmm.
How is it's really fighting against Optimus Prime? Like that's thank goodness that there's the Transformers for the Decepticons.
yeah."
Because otherwise it would just be nothing. There's literally nothing. So if that ends up what's happening and there's no like good side to go against whatever the bad side is, then that's a scary thought.
Jumping over to chapter 66. This is back to Tesla, and we're learning more about the full self-driving and the self-driving, and there was back and forth between using LiDAR and not.
And they tell him to delete radar.
Yeah,
He ends up coming to the
Musk
conclusion,
says-
delete it, get rid of it.
Get rid of it. And then
And then he gets a lot of bad publicity for that.
yeah,
They start all these articles start coming out where it's like
right. Are they doing it for
Tesla's going
safety?
backwards and stuff like that, and the stock starts to drop again, and I mean, he's going through all this stuff like that too, where it's like Musk was convinced, where he's probably true, where like all the accidents around like whatever was happening are more so because of the bad drivers rather than the software being the incident for the issues.
Yeah.
Like it's still, I think he talks a little bit about it, where it's like you get a bad rap for anything that happens when you're trying something new, but we've been so, desensitized to how awful it is just in general for car crashes.
Mhm.
How it's like literally dangerous to get into your car.
Yeah.
Right.
But like we have gotten so used to that, where it's just like, oh, we're trying to make it safer, and then it's one of those where it's like, if it's not 100% safe, then it's like, oh, okay, what's the point even? Just
Right.
like, and that's just how a lot of humans work.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of human nature.
Anything else on that chapter? Moving on. This one was an interesting chapter. Money 67, where he paid. So he said, where is it? On November 2021, he conducted a Twitter poll to see if he should sell some stock in order to realize some of the capital gains and pay tax on it. There was 3.5 million votes with a 58% voting yes. He was already planning to do so. He exercised the options when he had grant in 2012 and they were due to expire, which caused him to pay the largest single tax bill in history, $11 billion, enough to fund the entire budget of his antagonist, the Security and Exchange Commissions, for 5 years.
And this is right after he became the richest person in the world.
Richest person in the
The
world.
richest person in the world.
Yep. Just like that.
He-
$190 billion.
Tesla became the 6th U.S. company in the world to be worth more than $1 trillion.
Yeah.
$1 trillion.
Yeah. But says if it's true that money cannot buy happiness, one confirming data point is Musk's mood when he became the person with the most amount of it. He was not happy in the fall of 2021.
Yeah, he ends up. You get a little snippet of him talking to the person who wrote this book and who's been interviewing him, where he's just like, they talk for hours, and he's just like, since 2007, I've been in nonstop pain. It's like pull a rabbit out of your hat, then do it again, then do it again, then do it again. It's like a constant fight, takes a toll, and whenever you're always in adrenaline mode, it's like it's always gonna hurt you and stuff like that. And it's where you see the complexity of what it's like to be Elon Musk. You
Yeah.
see it a little bit too in the Joe Rogan interview, where it's just like, what's it like to be you? And he's just like, I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
He's like, you wouldn't enjoy it. He's like, what? Are you just like having ideas like nonstop, like you can't turn it off? And he's like, yeah, like nonstop. My brain like is always going, because he's relating him to like innovators like him and Nikola Tesla.
Yeah.
And people's like, oh, he's like, kicking around the idea, like, what if there was like 1,000 Elon Musks? He's like, well, things would get done a lot quicker, but like the typical person wouldn't want to be me.
Yeah.
So that's crazy.
Yeah, but he, the author, compares it. He says, it's essential insight in Musk that had about himself. When things were most desired, he got energized. It was a sage mentality from his South African childhood. But when he was not in survival or die mode, he felt unsettled. Yep, even on Thanksgiving.
So and it's tough because whenever you see him at his most distressed states, that's his comfortable space.
Right.
Which is like there's no win.
So
It's a
opposite.
lose.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Moving on, chapter 68, Father of the Year. This was an interesting chapter. So,
You find out
Shivan Zillis.
Yeah, Zillis is the one person that he never got in a fight with.
Yep.
That's what's crazy. Never gotten in a fight with him over, 6 years. That's a claim that very few can make.
Yeah. But basically, Zillis and Musk, where he hired her for Neuralink, I think. And then one thing led to another, and they had like a casual conversation about kids. And he's like, yeah, I'll be the father.
And she had always wanted to have kids, and she's like, well, I mean, his genetics make sense. Like that idea did appeal to her. So they ended up doing it through insemination.
Yeah.
Not doing it. They didn't.
Yeah.
Ended up
Virtual
doing that.
fertilization.
Yeah.
Which a lot of his kids were that.
Yeah, what in
A
the world?
lot of his kids.
Yeah. And he had a couple with, was it Grimes too?
Grimes too, yeah,
Yeah.
because
In vitro.
the C-section happened, and then
Yeah,
there was like no longer.
Mhm.
That makes you wonder questions that he probably wouldn't answer. But like, Just what's the
I don't know. Maybe
for if Zillis they don't want to ruin whatever good thing it is that they have. That makes sense.
yeah.
For Grimes,
Well, Grimes was because she had the C-section, and then after that, it was like kind of risky, I think, because of her frame.
Yeah.
yeah,
her
but
physical.
why did she do it retro in the first place?
No, I think she did it after.
Oh,
I think she had the 2 kids.
But even
and
then,
went in
what's
virtual.
the
reason?
what's the safety behind that compared to?
You don't have the kid. They grab an egg from you.
Oh, they did it through
Donor.
surrogate,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's why.
That's
okay.
that's how all these were done,
yeah,
which
so-
is crazy. Because I don't even think Zillis had her kid. They
No.
just took the egg. Yeah,
That's
it's so
what in
just
the world?
wild. Such a
I hadn't
crazy
really thought
thing.
about that.
But yeah, so they had baby Y, and then there was twins, and then 2021, he became the richest person in the world. SpaceX became the first private company to send a civilian crew into orbit. Tesla reached $1 trillion market value, leading the world's auto industry in a historic shift and era of electric vehicles. Few individuals have made more influence than Musk on life on Earth and potentially life off of Earth too. That is quite the quote.
Yeah, it's a big statement.
Yeah. But then, just like typical in this pattern, when life is good, Musk likes making it bad so he feels more comfortable. 69,
Starts
perfect
Dabbling in politics.
perfect chapter to do it on. Chapter 69, politics, 20 to 22.
What you mean by
And
that?
this was not the best time.
The coronavirus panic is dumb, is how he starts it off.
Yes.
He was specifically frustrated that they were trying to do all the stay-at-home orders while he was trying to,
Yep.
He's like, I don't got a month to waste, so I need all my stuff. So he filed against the orders and ends up he gets it approved. So I wonder what that looked like whenever all the Tesla workers and all the SpaceX workers were showing up to work
Yeah.
and everyone's got to stay at home. Yeah, dude. Even in California, that was probably the best time of their life driving to work.
Oh man, the
Dude,
traffic.
can you imagine?
Well, we
it's not
kinda
like that.
did.
Yeah, but
Not to that
But not
extent.
California,
No,
though.
California was locked down.
yeah. So yeah, but even then though, I'm just saying like I imagine like their stuff's kind of like I don't know, maybe it's not in the middle of town. Where do you think these factories are at? You think it is more not like downtown, like not
No, there's no
downtown.
way. The factories are
downtown,
ginormous.
yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe the traffic's not crazy, but I bet it was still rough. But yep, goes out there, tweets, take the red pill.
Yep.
So he's just using Twitter.
Yeah.
To
This was kind of
stir
the
the pot.
introduction to the woke mind virus, is what he says. Yeah. Trace route woke mind virus, which is a reference to finding out where this thought came from about being quote unquote woke.
He also ends up getting accused of
Exposing himself on the flight,
yeah.
that was crazy.
right? Which
And then there was like a payment that
he
matched.
would buy her a pony.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's not the craziest thing you would think about Elon though. So it's like that's where it's tricky. That's where it's tough because it's like, oh, this guy's so crazy. He probably would say something like that.
It is
Even
weird
though-
though,
yeah.
because they did pay her off.
Yep.
Tesla paid the woman $250 grand.
That's what it said. It was documented.
Stock fell 10%. But yeah, I don't know. I guess
So I thought it was crazy how he tried to take action against it, where he's just like before the story got leaked, he was like, he tweeted something, and then he was like, "Now watch their dirty tricks campaign against me unfold."
Yeah.
So he was just basically trying to like soften the blow, and then it wasn't as bad as he thought it was gonna be.
Right, it
but-
just kind of blew over. But how crazy is that? Like knowing the story's coming, and you're like, all right, I have a
what
little
can I
bit
do?
of time.
What can I do?
And then
Didn't end up
then-
liking Biden.
no,
He said
no.
Biden is a damp sock puppet in human form. That was like the funniest line in the book so far. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah,
And then Biden was undermining him too. That was another big reason. So I thought it was crazy how like in order to like keep the peace, one of Biden's staffers like reached out to him and said that President Biden was going to praise Tesla publicly.
Yep.
And they inserted a phrase into his speech that he gave the next day. And it wasn't anything crazy, but I was just like, man, it's so twisted.
that is crazy.
This guy's just like, oh, he's just going to say it. He's just saying words up there anyways. It's not like he means it.
Yeah,
Whatever.
Just reading the prompt.
Just reading
Yeah.
a prompt. Little damp sock puppet.
but So we find out he's kind of on that libertarian center as much as possible. And then really addicted to the game Polytopia.
He loved Polytopia. This is
Loved
where
it.
he ended up having his biggest fight with Grimes
Yes.
because she undercut him
Yeah.
whenever they were supposed to be on the same team.
Yep.
It was so crazy.
But out of that, they designed, they call it Polytopia Life Lessons. Empathy is not an asset. Play life like a game. Do not fear losing. Be proactive. Optimize every turn. Double down. And pick your battles and unplug at times.
He literally loved this game so much that he delayed meetings and missed meetings at the Tesla Berlin factory because he was playing the game. He said he was wrong about that. His mom got onto him. He's like, yeah, I was wrong. But he's like, but it's the best game ever. So he's like, this is one of the few times where he's like, yeah, I was kind of wrong about that. But man, this game's so freaking good.
Yeah. Jumping
Hilarious.
over to Ukraine,
Oh,
2022.
man.
I can't believe it's already been 2 years since
Nice.
this started. So an hour before before Russia launched an invasion of Ukraine on February 24th, 2022, they used a massive malware attack to disable the routers of American satellite company Viasat that provided communications and internet to the country. But Musk said 2 days later, 500 terminals arrived in Ukraine. We have the U.S. military looking to help us in transport. State offered humanitarian rights. He just jumped right in and just basically provided infrastructure to keep defense for the Ukraine army.
And by July, there was 15,000 Starlink terminals operating in Ukraine.
Yep.
He just jumped in, just like he kind of tried to do with the submarine thing.
Yeah.
He's just trying to help. I mean, in general, like
Help
he's
humanity.
literally pro-human. I
Yeah.
think that's what's cool about him.
Yeah.
I think reading this, I think that's one of the clear-cut takeaways is that I don't think he's really just in his own world like 100% of the time.
Yeah.
So like anything that's a good idea, he's going to tell you it's a good idea because he thinks it's going to be progressive.
Yep.
Anything that he sees incredibly stupid, he's just going to tell you that.
Yeah.
What a waste of time. Such a dumb idea.
Yep.
Doesn't help humanity at all. So he estimated that in total his total contribution to them was around $80 million.
But even though it was a good deed, the Ukrainians started trying to use it in a bad way.
Crazy.
Wanted to retaliate.
Do
Russia.
a sneak attack
Yeah.
using the Starlink to guide the target.
Yep. Which this is crazy because I don't think I ever heard about this on the news or anything.
It sounds like it was a
That-
lot of under the table type
Yeah.
stuff.
Exactly. Where the Ukrainian leader was texting Musk and he said that, a dangerous and knotty issue has arisen, and he believed that there was a non-trivial possibility, he put it, that it could lead to a nuclear war, with Starlink partly being responsible.
That is scary.
Yeah.
Yep, the Ukrainian military was attempting to sneak attack on the Russia naval fleet based on a Sevastopol in Crimea, and was sending 6 small drone submarines packed with explosives, and they were using Starlink to guide them to the target.
So he basically has to act fast, and he just decides to like. He secretly told his engineers to turn off the coverage within 100 kilometers of Crimean coast. So they all ended up washing ashore, and that's when the guy then he reaches out to him. He's just like, what the heck?
Yeah, what happened?
Why did that happen?
Yeah.
But then there's like that uncivil kind of conversation back and forth between the president
Yes,
of
Zelensky.
Ukraine's ambassador to Germany, Zelensky, and
Super awkward.
yeah, and that part of that came from like he was like trying to start charging them because he was doing it all for free. Like other people,
Right.
he even spoke about how other people were like making all this money off of it. He's like, all right, we're gonna try and do it, and he's like, okay, he got called out for. He's like, fine, I support the, because then he started getting questioned like, whose side are you on if you're gonna start charging us? He's like, SpaceX's out of pocket cost to enable and support Starlink in Ukraine is $80 million roughly so far. And then he wrote in a response, our support for Russia is $0. Obviously, we are pro-Ukraine. But then he added that he was just like, all right, I'll just continue to let it go on for free.
Yeah, for a little bit. And then, well, especially for defense. But yeah.
For the right purposes, right?
Yeah, neither Ukraine or U.S. has been able to find any other satellite providers or communication systems that could match Starlink or fend off attacks from Russian hackers, which is wild. But yeah, no, they eventually did. The Pentagon had agreed to a 145 million check ready to hand to me. What's his name? Shotwell said,
$145 million check.
and he turned it down. But then they did agree to a deal or something down the line.
This is where he's talking with Vice. This is where it got kind of crazy. This is where it was like, or I thought this was cool. They had a secret encrypted exchange. I
Yeah.
thought that was a cool little portion of it where he's talking with the prime minister about the use of like they're almost like going back and forth. It's like, this is why I think you should let us be able to use it in this
Yeah.
way because we need it. And he's kind of like, we don't want our stuff to be used like
For war.
for war.
Yeah. But then SpaceX did eventually make arrangements with the military to do a service. 100,000 new dishes were sent to Ukraine beginning in 2023. But they did launch a companion service called Starshield that now licenses their satellite services to U.S. military and other industries. But yeah. Moving on, Bill Gates. This got a little interesting too. Whoa, man, he's on the top of the mountain with all these billionaires. You thought they'd be friends, huh? Nope.
It's always a
Another one.
It's always
Bill
competition.
Gates. This one was bad because Elon Musk knew that Bill Gates shorted Tesla stock.
Yes, that was crazy. Having a conversation with another person who held the title of richest person
Yeah.
at a rarefied fraternity. Yeah, I bet there's not too many people that can say.
But what was it? Eventually they wanted, or Musk.
He had
or-
lost, but he had lost on that deal. So it's
Yeah.
it's
he-
almost like
he
yeah,
lost $1
it's-
billion.
but it didn't make Musk any happy. But he had lost $1.5 billion.
Yeah.
But it wasn't enough that he lost all his money because because Musk has like a holistic view of what's trying to get done on the earth. He's like, why would you why would you actively try and short a company just to make money?
Yeah.
Which is what he ends up saying. Like he just wanted to make money off of trying to short a company that's trying to make change in the world, like make the world a better place.
Yeah.
I think that's where like a lot of billionaires will show their true colors. And then I feel like Musk is even, for the rare people that can make $1 billion and can change the world like this, he's even in the rarer portion that like stay down to earth. Like he doesn't try to live the super lavish lifestyle anymore. He's really all just about like trying to create like
Yeah.
trying to make progress.
It's in his core that he wants to do for the humanity, no matter what.
It was never necessarily about the money. That's why he kept putting all his chips back on the table.
Yeah, but Gates originally wanted to visit him about philanthropy and figuring out how to, actually give back some of your money. And then, yeah, Elon Musk gave him a little.
Tweeted a funny picture of him.
Oh man, yeah,
As in
him on the
pregnant.
golf course.
Pregnant.
Yeah,
Looking pregnant. In
I
case you need to
remember
lose him. Yeah, it's so funny.
he sent I'm pretty sure it was an emoji. It was that like pregnant dad emoji or whatever. Yeah.
That is
but-
too funny.
Yeah. So moving on, chapter 72. Finally starting off with the little Twitter. We found out that right now, 2022. This is before the storm. Right now, he is currently initially funded, or the upshot that the value of his 4 companies he had initially funded were built. Tesla was at $1 trillion. SpaceX was at $100 billion. The Boring Company was at $5.6 billion, and Neuralink was at $1 billion worth.
What the?
He's
Dude,
like,
what
me
in
just-
the heck?
Let me add another
Yes.
billion-dollar company
yeah,
on here.
Sure, you got room on your plate for that.
Right.
That's insane, dude.
Wild.
That's insane.
But yeah, so he loves Twitter. Absolutely die hard.
And he has some conversations about just becoming a board member and, buying up shares and stuff like that and, just becoming part of it. But then he comes to the decision whenever he goes away on vacation that that's not going to be enough and he's not going to be able to inflict the change that he wants to see. So without fully thinking it through, he decided to buy Twitter.
Yeah. Yep. There was initially he was invited to be on the board. He wanted to change some good and make some change within the company, but then realized that from his brother that he isn't good on the board, and also the board would just say, "Yeah, Elon, that's a great idea," and just blow him off. And so then he's like, "F this! I'm just gonna buy the entire company."
He talks a little bit, I thought it was funny, about his early tweets were him at a Christmas party wearing a wig, pretending to be Art Garfunkel, and he would tweet, got called randomly by Kanye West and received a download of his thoughts, ranging from shoes to Moses. He was polite but opaque. So I thought it was interesting. That was some of his early tweets.
Yeah.
Like,
Over
he was
19,000
overnight.
tweets.
But then he started to tweet a lot more, and he, over the next decade would have over 19,000 tweets. Those were just his like kind of first tweets.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, that's kind of
But yeah,
crazy to think about.
but yeah, the whole thing.
He was riled up because of the censorship too.
Yeah.
That was something that he was really frustrated about,
Yeah.
and he thought it was becoming a little bit too political instead of just free speech.
Yep.
On anything.
Yeah. And then
So he tweets out the whole thing where he's like, "Do you believe Twitter rigorously adheres to this principle?" Whenever he tweets out a poll, when 70% answered no,
Yeah.
and then he says a new platform needed, and that's whenever he was getting text messages like, "Hey, like we need to talk. We need to
Yep.
get more details about this."
Yeah. But then he made a tweet. I made an offer. And yeah, so he makes a decision to buy his money guy calls them bankers, and they're like, yeah, it's probably worth $54.20, which is hilarious because it's the whole 420 thing again, and that's what got him in trouble with Tesla. So he loved that. Then I'm trying to like summarize all this section up. Yeah, but he believed he could. Trying to remember all of it, but yeah, so basically in short, this is where he said he just decided that he was going to buy it. The author says, I think that Musk wanted to own Twitter. The first one was a simple one. It was fun, like an amusement park. It offered political smackdowns, intelligent gladiator matches, dopey memes, important public announcements, valuable marketing, bad puns, and unfiltered opinions. The second, I believe, is physiological. Personal yearning. Twitter has been the ultimate playground. As a kid, he was beaten and bullied on the playground, never had been endowed with the emotional dexterity needed to thrive on that rugged terrain. So, and that's the two reasons why he thought, at least, why Elon bought it.
I thought it was cool to see a little bit of his backstory where he's talking about, you see the early idea of like, oh, what if we charge people to be verified, and that's kind of how we'll be able to fund like people that are on there constantly, like, getting more engagement and stuff like that for us. So you see a little bit of the early kind of ideas where it's like an algorithm that would like, get some of the scams. He wanted to get all, like, it was like 5% bots and stuff like that. He wanted to get more active users and stuff, but one of his core ideas was, what if it was like $2 a month to be verified, and that would like guarantee that someone's paying for, because he came to find out that all these people were having like multiple accounts and multiple like troll accounts, and he didn't like that. He wanted people to operate under one type of thing. So
but then the deal was made. Sunday, April 24th, Elon Musk texted me at 10 a.m. He mentioned that he stayed up all night. I asked if it was about if that was because he was working on final deal points, or he was worried about buying Twitter. He said no. He said it's because I was up. I went to a party with friends and drank too much Red Bull. So yeah, he was definitely ready to go. Thought it was interesting that Sam Bankman-Fried came in.
Dude, I was like, what the
That's
heck?
wild.
He sniffed him out immediately though.
Immediately
he's like
on a
this
phone
guy's
call.
a whole bunch of nothing. He's just talking about himself and didn't even like.
That is wild though.
That's crazy.
He offered what, $5 billion or something?
Yes. Good thing he didn't take the bank.
Right?
That was great. He goes on to talk about the investors that he does end up choosing, and one of them was a Qatar-based fund, or Qatar, I think it's how you say it, based fund, and it was part of the deal for that investment was promising to be there for the World Cup.
Yeah, Elon Musk.
So I don't know if he was, but I'm assuming he was.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm assuming he was at the World Cup then for that reason. I thought it was funny.
Yeah,
Right,
but there was some warning flags. Yeah, it was about the bots. Yep, 5% of the users is what Twitter disclosed. In public disclosures, Twitter estimated bots and fake accounts made about 5%. Musk's own experience convinced him that it was widely understating problem. Twitter allowed, indeed, encourage users to create new accounts under different names and aliases. Some troll farms burned through hundreds of identities. Not only did these fake accounts pollute the service, they were not monetizable. So he did start kind of walking it back. He's like, yo, I mean, how many users are there actually using Twitter?
He had a meeting with the CEO and didn't like how that went.
Yep.
And then he started to basically almost second guess it.
Yeah, walk it
He's
back.
like, this is way... it's he basically comes to the conclusion that I'm about to overpay for this. He's like,
Yeah.
even for what I'm gonna do, he's like, I think I can turn this into a whatever $1 billion company, but at the moment, like I feel like I'm gonna overpay for this. He was
Yeah.
talking about how it's like a 5-6 year time plan.
Yeah. But then at the very end of it, they have a town hall meeting, which is so weird. Town hall, without consulting his lawyers, Musk agreed to attend a virtual town hall meeting with the Twitter employees on June 16th. And they basically, it honestly went pretty well, though. Not too much pushback or anything like that. No one was crazy. People were just asking about his political beliefs, which is very weird because, like, it was like even in that time, like Twitter was definitely woke. So it is just funny that people were asking about that, like the employees were. But he answered everything well. He said, I think that I'm moderate, close to center. He said he did not please most people on the call, but he did also avoid causing any explosions. So that's a success when it comes to him. But yeah, so
Leads us into our final portion.
yeah, we flew through that. I mean, there's so much that we didn't even cover all the details. So hopefully you guys were listening and just getting a nice little summary of what you could expect. And if you did read along, congrats, you know all the details in there. But that was it for part 3. Now we are chapter 75 to the end,
Which is what?
which is
Final page is 615.
615 is where
Final
it is.
chapters, the Starship launch. So it's 75 to 95. So it's another 20 chapters. How many pages is that? 615. We're starting on basically 467.
Should be a little lighter. Should be like 5 chapters less than usual.
5 chapters, but is the page number different? 468 to 568. It's the same. It's about the same page numbers. So, yeah. Another like 150, 160.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're going to be finishing this book. And then we'll be debuting Landon's book next week. How does it feel, Miguel?
Bro, this is I haven't
Crazy.
read- I mean, obviously since the 48 Laws, but like, yeah, it's been a good book.
It's been a good book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was recommending it already to other people.
Yeah, it's good. to
But
get the insight.
yeah, I'm excited to finish it off and then move on to the next book. And then we'll
Officially
see.
be on the second book of season 2.
But
Yeah.
before we move on to the next book and for next week, let's move on to our short snippets. Miguel, what do we got for our quote of the day?
This is a timeless one. I feel like everybody needs to hear this every now and then, but
Mm.
falling down is an accident, staying down is a choice.
Oh,
That's really good.
I like that.
Really, really good.
All right, we have a thought-provoking question today. And this kind of goes perfectly with how we ended it. In one sentence, how would you sum up the internet?
Source of
And
all
did it say one
information.
sentence or one word? In one sentence.
One
I guess.
sentence. Am
kinda
I going
got-
first? You guys both
Whoever's
looking
got
at
it,
me?
I kinda got-
I just immediately think source of all information.
Mm.
That's good.
That's usually what I think when I hear that.
What about you?
Connected human minds.
It's a good one.
With the internet, yeah.
Neuralink.
I have very addicting and distracting.
Very
Ver-
addicting.
I
and
would say more
distracting.
addicting. Very addicting. Very
Very addicting.
addicting because you feel like instead of living wherever you're at, you just want to be it's almost easier to
It's
or
easy.
easier / addicting to just try and be somewhere else
Mm.
rather than where you're at.
Mm.
But yeah, it's fine.
There you go.
I had one word, but I know I like all 3 of those. At first, I thought it was
Wait,
one
so
word.
so what was your word then? Addicting?
Addicting.
Oh,
More
okay.
addicting than distraction.
Gotcha.
Just addicting.
Nice. All right.
Very
On
good.
to the my portion. Am I wrong? We're back with a multiple of options for you guys.
Oh, great.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Here, because we didn't do it last week, did we? Oh no, we did.
No, we did. It was 2 weeks ago.
All right, here we go. Am I wrong for not giving my plus-size friend the queen-size bed in our bed and breakfast? Am I wrong for leaving my husband at our lake house with his family? Am I wrong for backing out of helping my sister pay for a car because she went and got a $65,000 Jeep instead of what we originally agreed on. And the last one is, am I wrong for calling my parents' plan stupid?
I don't like the last two. What you want between the first two?
I like the first one. I want to hear what
Plus
this is
size?
about. Yeah.
We're going with plus size? All right.
Let's do the most.
Am
controversial
I
one.
wrong for not giving my best friend the queen size? Am I wrong for not giving my plus size friend
Yeah, she's not my best friend.
probably not anymore, the queen size bed in our bed and breakfast? I'm 30s female. I'm going on vacation with 4 of my friends, 30s and 40s females. We go every year and always use a randomized selection tool to help us choose who gets which bedroom. The tool assigns the order in which we choose. I got 3rd choice, and my plus size friend Marie got 5th choice. The first 3 of us chose the queen size beds. The other 2 got twin beds and had to share a room. Yeah, it sucks, but that's why we leave it up to chance so nobody can complain. Marie asked me privately if we could switch places so she could get the queen size bed. She is a plus size, and in my opinion, not so big she can't fit in a twin bed. I personally have lost over 100 pounds at my largest and was bigger than Marie is now, and I never once asked to switch beds when I was bigger. So I therefore said no. She started crying and told me I was being unreasonable and that out of all people should understand. I do understand, but it's my vacation too, and I worked hard to be in a body that I am comfortable in. I don't feel like I should give up my spot to accommodate her when she can still fit in the twin bed. Am I wrong?
I have to say no. Especially the situation that's randomized every time for you guys. Yeah, that's just the short end of the stick for you, unfortunately. But no, she's not wrong for that.
I say yeah, especially if it's like evenly randomized. Like I feel like the tough thing would be if it's like drawn out of a hat essentially, and like, come on, this is my 3rd year in a row being in a twin size room. I know I got to do it 2 years in a row before that where I was in the queen. It's like, come on, it's my no. In that circumstance, yeah, I would agree. I mean, yeah, twin size beds aren't like small; they're small to share. Shouldn't necessarily be small for a single individual.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think, yeah, no, I mean, she can relate to it. It's definitely, it sounds just like it's kind of like a guilt. She's probably more upset about sharing the room, which is understandable.
Yeah.
I mean, if the twin-sided bedrooms are in the same room and you don't end up getting your own bedroom, like, of course, it'd be more appealing to be able to retreat to your own space, especially if you got a significant other, whoever you want to talk to, and just makes all that a little bit easier, a little bit more privacy, all that. But if it's randomized, I mean, it's pretty. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Sounds fair.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they all agreed on the scenario ahead of time, and if your cards aren't dealt the way that's what everyone agreed on.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But
Ask one of the other 2 friends. Honestly, one of them might be in a more generous mood. Don't pull her aside one friend and try and guilt trip them.
well, it's
Just be like, hey, look, I like this friend that I'm going to be rooming with, but any chance I can be in one of you guys' rooms? If not, then it's not. That just sounds like, yeah, you don't want to. That's just an unnecessary problem
Yeah.
to kind of have.
Yep, definitely not wrong. But you will be wrong if you do not read the last section of the book. That's right, guys. We are going to be selling these Cohen. No, that'd be crazy. We will eventually sell Cohen's. But guys, we are going to be finishing off this 600-page book.
615. Don't sell it
615.
short.
Next week, and I can't believe we did it all under a month.
Look at
Everyone did
There
very
you go.
well. No one actually skipped any pages or anything like that.
That
And
you know
actually, I mean, I'm the only one that forgot the book. But other than that,
I know you kicked us off with
I
the
know.
Conehead. That's
I know.
crazy. Look
but
how far we've come
it's
since
been a
then.
great book. I can't wait to finish it off, and I can't wait to see what Landon brings to the table next after this one.
I'm not gonna have time to choose. I'm gonna be too busy reading.
I'm sure
I'm
you're
gonna be
gonna
Conehead for not having a book. You imagine that? Hey guys, we don't know what book
we don't have
got.
a book.
It's virtual book.
Take a
I'll
month off?
show him a picture. No, can't do that. I don't know. I told Chase, I was like, I'll try and, not that we can't do it, but I'll try to not do a 600-page book. I'm not gonna try if one comes across my. I haven't started looking yet, so if one shows
There
up,
you go.
really good book, I'm not gonna limit it to that.
Yeah.
But we could maybe use 50 pages less or something.
Well,
Wouldn't kill us.
if you guys that are listening or watching have any suggestions as well, put
Yeah.
them down in the comments, and we might just even read it one time. We'll find out. But
yeah, for real.
that's going to have to do it for this episode of the Book Club Bros podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe and do all those things to help us grow and show more people and tune into the book club. But
Read
other than
more
that,
books.
there you go.